this week, a special guest. He's just this way at the Dim Carnival.
Welcome back to the Dim Carnival, everybody. I'm Bill.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Ryan.
And this week we're lucky to be joined by our very first guest on Dim Carnival. You've heard us refer to him many times in terms of being our unofficial fact checker and historian for the podcast. Our lovely fan, Jeremy, a.k.a. Jigglz. Thanks for joining us, Jeremy.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is very fun, very exciting. But I think the first thing that we need to talk to you about is how you got into Insane Clown Posse and where your Juggalo name came from.
Well, where I first got into Insane Clown Posse is actually kind of a lame story, but I'll go with it anyways. It was in 1999, and a friend of mine brought over the Amazing Juggle Brothers CD, and he wasn't a fan or anything, but he had borrowed it from another friend, and he said, "Hey, you guys gotta listen to this." And of course, it was the Jerky Boy skits. It was bitches, and just the funny stuff, and that was it. And I was like, "Okay, that's pretty funny." And then we laughed it off, and after he left, and it's just I couldn't get it out of my head. I was like, "Man, Insane Clown Posse, that weird clown face." I'm like, what's going on with that? So it was probably a few months later. I was at the record store, and I was looking around. I was like, "Oh, I should look for ICP." And so I picked up the Amazing Juggle Brothers. I listened to it start to finish, and I was hooked, absolutely hooked. And it was, by the time Nothing's Left was about halfway over, I was just like, this is the band that I'm going to devote 90% of my listening to. And it was just from there.
And we had talked, like, Steve and I had talked about how, the entryway for us was, being Weird Al fans and finding all the humor in Insane Clown Posse. And it sounded like that was sort of the gateway for you, too.
It's the gateway, totally.
It quickly became something deeper for you, though.
Yeah, and I got to say, I've always been a big fan of Al Yankovic, too. And it's not really the same thing, though.
No.
It's really, really weird. But I discovered Bloodhound Gangs shortly before ICP. And then, of course, when Eminem had his huge break, that was just before. It was the same year. It was maybe a few months before I heard ICP. And so I was already kind of starting to get a little bit warmed up to the idea of this, weird kind of horrorcore type thing.
Nice.
But, yeah, and within the matter of about a year, maybe year and a half, I had almost the entire back catalog. I was just that hooked. And I got to tell you, over here in Washington, it was hard to find most of the stuff.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I had an inside source at Borders Books, though. So I was able to special order, like Tunnel of Love. I had to special order that.
At this point now, I know that our listeners might not know this, but you've been assembling a very cool master list of all of Insane Clown Posse and Psychopathic releases, and yes. I think that your plans are eventually to sort of make that open source.
Somehow, yes.
But at this point, just before we started the call, you talked about the importance of physical media, and I agree that preserving physical media is very important, and it's also adds, especially in the case of a band like Insane Clown Posse, and there are other bands like this where they are able to tell an additional aspect of the story through the packaging and the liner notes. But at this point, how much Psychopathic related physical media do you own? Are there still some holy grails for you out there that you haven't picked up yet?
Oh, there's a ton of holy grails, but I've got all the major stuff, and God, honestly, I don't know the exact number of how many CDs I have.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. I think I estimated it at about 110, 120, something like that.
Wow.
And that's Psychopathic only.
Are you
Oh,
pretty
man.
much into everything that Psychopathic has put out, or do you collect everything and you don't like some of it, but you keep it for completism reasons?
I started off kind of once the during the quote unquote family era started back in the Dark Lotus days in 2001 2002 when they just started pumping out just a ton of stuff. I was still trying to get everything, and that went on until about 2009, I think 2008 2009. I had grown up, I got family, work, there's bills, so I can't get every release, but I always try to get every ICP release, and then anything that I just think is going to be really rare and really cool, I try to pick up.
But is there stuff that you're not necessarily into? Like, I never got into Axe Murder Boys, for instance. Like, is there stuff where you're just like, you've got it? Like, because for a while I was just picking up everything that was out on Psychopathic, without necessarily knowing how good it would be. So is there stuff that you're just like not that into, or do you pretty much enjoy everything that they've put out?
For the most part, I enjoyed mostly what they put out. Like the first Axe Murder Boys. I mean, there's some good songs on there, but not really something I listen to very often. I never really got into to Big Hoodoo yet. I don't have either one of his albums. A friend of mine told me that it's really good, and I've heard a few songs, and it's like, okay, but I haven't committed to diving in. I've kind of tried to put a cap on things lately.
Who's got time to listen to music anymore?
Surprisingly, dude, I've got a Zune. Remember what those are?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Hell yeah, 120 gigabytes. Yeah,
Nice.
take that, Apple. And I listen to it at work. One headphone in, and 9 hours a day, I'm listening to music.
Yeah, we've got time to listen to about a maximum of 6 songs a week.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I can't listen to anything but ICP at this point.
I go through phases. Sometimes I listen to nothing but ICP and Psychopathic and other horrorcore type stuff or underground rap. But then there's other times where I don't listen to it hardly at all for weeks and weeks. Kind of go in and out.
Yeah. What do you? Is there a release or ICP album that you would say is your favorite, or that you keep going back to again and again?
Oh God, I tend to go back to the earlier releases a lot. Twisted's Freak Show is one of my all-time favorites. Riddlebox, Ringmaster, and then usually like the new stuff. Not every new album, but every once in a while a new album will come out and it would just hook me. Like the new Ouija Mac album. I didn't think I was going to like it. I wasn't even sure if I was going to buy it, but I was like, well, I'll give it a try. And so I bought it, and man, I was blown away, and I haven't been able to put it down.
That's awesome. I haven't had a chance to listen to that one yet, but Ryan, you were saying?
No, yeah, I was just gonna say I haven't listened to it either, but I see that dude on social media a lot, and he looks like a real character.
It looks like a real character, yeah. It's really weird though. It's really different music. It's very modern sounding, very trap, very stuff that I normally wouldn't listen to. But he puts that kind of wicked shit, psychopathic spin to it, and I don't know. I usually listen to it in the car, and I get the bass kicking, and there you go.
Yeah, I didn't know he was trap, because that's very appealing to me actually. So like, because I've heard some tracks from Light, and it's like, oh, this guy's talented, and like like the songs are fine, but it doesn't really seem like anything that would be like I'd really listen to a bunch. But I'll definitely check out Ouija Mac. The weird thing about Ouija Mac is I think Kevin Gill was talking about the new Ouija Mac album, and then a pro wrestler I know named Swade Thompson responded, and he's like, oh, I grew up with Ouija Mac. And I was like, this is weird. So where'd your name come from?
I don't really know. I was just trying to come up with an email handle way back in the Yahoo and the AOL days. And my wife was just like, Jigglz. And I'm like, okay, Jigglz the Clown. And it kind of started off as that, and then it just kind of morphed into the current spelling of Jigglz.
Nice. I love that your wife helped you with it. That's great. Is she into ICP at all?
Not really. She likes a lot of the older stuff, like Riddlebox, Tunnel of Love, Little Something Something is probably her favorite song. She's not really too into it, but she thinks it's really funny, and she likes a lot of the older stuff and a lot of Twisted stuff she likes too.
Has she gone to see them with you?
She saw Twisted with me once, and we went to a Tech Nine concert together also, or 2 Tech Nine concerts.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How many times have you seen Psychopathic artists live?
Surprisingly, I've only seen Insane Clown Posse one time.
Wow.
Yeah, well, they hardly ever come to Seattle. For like 10 years, they were banned from Seattle. They couldn't get a gig. Yeah, that when I saw them, it was the Hatchet Rising tour in 2001, and that was actually the last time that they played until probably like 2009, 2010, something like that.
Was that the tour where they unveiled the Wraith, the Shangri-La cover?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I couldn't see it. It was just like a cloth that was poorly lit, and I couldn't make it out. But the concert was cool.
That's fun that your first time seeing them was Steve and I's, or your only time seeing them was also the same tour that Steve and I saw them for the first time. That's
Nice.
very neat.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, and that's the only time I've seen ICP. I saw Shaggy on his solo tour back in 2006 for the Fuck the Fuck Off.
Whoa.
That was a cool show. I've seen Twisted three times. And then Tech Nine I've seen a couple of times. I saw Isham once.
I honestly never even considered that Shaggy 2 Dope ever did a solo tour.
Yeah, he absolutely did. It was him and DJ Clay, and they had Ex Murder Boys opening for him, and who else? I want to say, it was Moonshine Bandits, I think.
How's Shaggy hold down the stage by himself?
Fine. It was like a typical rap show. I mean, he just walks back and forth on the stage and raps. But
Was there no Fago?
There was no Fago.
Huh.
But DJ Clay was cutting it up live, though, which was pretty cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
he is a good DJ.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan, did you have some questions for Jeremy here?
Oh, well, I appreciate you talking about some of the records that you like. Being that Amazing Jekyll Brothers was your first one, and that's the track that the CD that we most recently talked about. I was curious what you thought about that album.
I love it. Yeah, it's probably one of their best put together albums, between that and the Bazaars. For a while, I didn't really listen to it that much. Oh man, there's so many bangers on there. I mean, Nothing's Left is probably one of my all-time favorite ICP songs. And Play With Me is also a really good one that I always go back to. Yeah, the whole album is a lot of fun. There's a lot more humor, a lot more anger, but the production is really slick.
Yeah, definitely.
And God, Jamie Madrox, everything he does, every time he touches the mic on that album, it's solid gold. It's just amazing.
Man, those two really came out of the gate swinging.
Yeah.
I guess, which is interesting because they had been kind of, I don't know the history of Twisted as well, but they had been kind of toiling for a few years, and then ICP gave them this big push, and it seemed like both parties were like, we're doing 110% because we want to make sure that this works.
Oh, definitely, yeah. If you listen to the old House of Crazy stuff with Twisted and ROC, I mean, it's good, but it's really dated. It's really lo-fi, and there's not very much production. There's not a lot of theatrics or production into it. It's basically they just rap over the beats, and there's a lot of samples, and it's good, but it's not nearly Twisted level. But I think, I don't know, somehow the creative forces between Violent J and Jamie Madrox, and probably mostly those two guys, it cooked up just a mean pot of chili.
And you like your chili hot.
I like my chili so goddamn hot. You can cook a hog's ass in a spoonful.
So have you been following any of the M&E releases?
No, I kind of had mixed feelings at first. When Twisted left, I was shocked, but I was like, well, okay, if it's going to be best for Twisted, then so be it. And I checked out their first mixtape that they released online, and I was like, okay, this is pretty good. But then there started being a lot of beef, and it wasn't a whole lot of artist beef. It was mostly just in the Juggalo community, mostly just online, I guess.
Yeah.
And it just kind of soured me to it. And, I was, at that point, I was still listening to all this stuff, but I wasn't really keeping up with most of it. And so I just kind of, I'm going to pay attention to ICP because it's embedded into my DNA now. I have to follow ICP. But then just all the other stuff, whether it was Psychopathic or any other label, just kind of went to the background. And I wasn't really paying attention until probably 2012, 2013 or so, after the Mighty Death Pop. Then it seemed like it was picking up steam again, or at least for me and my perception, and I started to get more interested again. But by then, Twisted had gone off and built their own thing, and I just like, I I can't put that much focus onto all of this stuff and still function. So I had to draw the line somewhere, and it's nothing against Twisted. I love Twisted. I still listen to their Psychopathic stuff all the time, but I haven't dived into it.
Yeah.
Because when I do something, I usually do it full bore. And I just don't have time in my life for another thing that I'm going full bore on.
That's totally fair.
Man.
That's how I feel about the Marvel and DC comic book movies.
Yeah.
I can only invest so much interest in comic book movies, and so I just do it with Marvel because they seem to be better.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, you got it right.
You nailed it.
Yeah. The only DC movie that I've watched in the theater was Suicide Squad. And I wish I would have watched Wonder Woman instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wonder Woman's good, man.
Oh, man, that movie was so good.
I did watch Wonder Woman. Yeah, I did watch Wonder Woman.
Well, Steve, you're batting 1,000. You chose MCU and you watched the one good DCEU movie, so...
Right, don't stop there, man.
Yeah.
I did. Great. No, I did watch Superman versus Batman, and then I stopped. I was like,
gouged your eyes out.
Yeah.
I was like, dang it. But
if it wasn't for Marvel kicking ass, then the DC movies would probably seem pretty good.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's true.
I like that one. I
think Jesse Eisenberg is awesome in that movie.
Yeah, I mean, they're not bad movies. They're just when you compare it to Marvel, because you're always going to compare it to Marvel. And
I think Ben Affleck is the best Batman that's ever been in a movie.
I like him a lot.
Just in terms of like playing Bruce Wayne and Batman, like
he's got that total Dark Knight thing going on. That's just he's scary.
And he's also the only actor that they've ever gotten that's been able to pull off both Bruce Wayne and Batman.
Yeah,
right.
And like make you believe both of them. But it's a shame about the movies.
Val Kilmer.
I love Val Kilmer.
I like him better as Jim Morrison.
Yeah, if you guys want to be really bummed out, watch The Snowman and realize that that's Val Kilmer in that movie. Because it's a real bummer.
Speaking of who we thought was Val Kilmer, so my girlfriend and I just watched Tusk.
Oh.
Did you guys see Tusk?
That's Justin Long, not Val Kilmer.
Right, but no, the scene when what's his name? Oh shit, why am I blanking right now? Johnny Depp. When Johnny Depp's character was introduced, my girlfriend thought that it was Val Kilmer at first.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. So you guys know that they're making Top Gun 2, right? With Val Kilmer and Tom Cruise in it?
I work
is
with
it
the
going to
military.
Be a sequel? Is that what's going on there?
It is a sequel. But what I'm hoping more than anything, I think that the one thing that will instantly make it the best movie ever is if the movie starts with a title card that says 2 years later.
Well, I was thinking maybe it would be, they're both retired Air Force. They're,
yeah, I imagine it's going to be home. Like they're in the Viper role now, or whatever Tom Skerritt's like.
That's going to be like Bubba Hotep. He's in a convalescent home.
Yeah.
And Kelly McGillis is going to roll up.
I just picture the Justice League America cartoon 2 years later.
Well, for the new Mission Impossible, Tom Cruise learned how to fly a helicopter and is actually flying a helicopter in a helicopter chase scenes. So he's definitely flying those planes in Top Gun. There's no way he's not going to fly a fighter jet in Top Gun. Have you ever made any music of your own or done any projects like that?
Yes, actually I recorded I guess you'd basically call it an EP with a band that I was in back in 2002. We had a little Tascam 4-track cassette mixer, and we jammed in my sister's basement, and we recorded it on a cassette and eventually transferred it to a CD, and it sounds like shit. But I love it. I think when I was about 13 or 14, I started playing guitar, and almost immediately I started writing songs, and I was very, very, very devoted to playing and writing music all the way up and through my late teens, early 20s, until I grew up and got a full-time job and wife and the kids. That's how it goes.
Being an adult.
Being an adult, I know. I still play occasionally. My fingers hurt though, so I have to stop. And you'd be surprised how fast those blisters and calluses go away.
Oh hell yeah, man! I don't play my guitar, but maybe once or twice a year, and every time I'm feeling like, shit.
Yeah, I spend about 5 minutes on, do I know any songs? What song? Do I know this song? I don't know. And then about 20 minutes later, my fingers hurt, and I just stop. But no, I used to be in a band, and it was a lot of fun. We played one gig that we got paid for, and yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Nice.
That's awesome, man.
It might be Nothing's Left, but do you have an all-time favorite ICP or Psychopathic Records track?
Single song?
Yeah.
Oh god. Oh, you're killing me. No. Nothing's Left, Pass Me By. Those are two that are definitely up there.
Mm-hmm.
God, I don't know, man. Can I choose 75% of them?
Sure.
Okay. My favorite ICP song is 75% of them.
What's your least favorite ICP song?
Least favorite ICP song is from The Tempest, Mexico City.
Ha!
That's an easy one. I
Steve,
actually,
you know about that one, right?
I like that song.
yeah. Oh, different strokes, right?
Yeah.
That's the one ICP song that's actually not on my Zune. So it never comes up in rotation. Jay and Shaggy, if you're hearing this, I'm sorry, but they can't all be singers.
They definitely listen. Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Sure.
All right, you guys got any other questions for Jeremy here?
Yeah, let's say, what do we forget? What do we leave out? What else you want to talk about, man?
Shoot.
Oh, so let's talk about. We were talking about physical media, and one thing that we haven't talked a lot about on all of our episodes is the liner notes and how they fit in with the albums, how they fit in with the songs, the little Easter eggs contained therein. And you've talked to us a little bit about liner notes before, and you own all of these releases. So is there anything that we're leaving out from the liner notes from the first 5 Joker's cards or so? I know that in the releases I have, Carnival of Carnage and Ringmaster are both just sort of a single fold and just sort of information about acknowledgments inside of those.
But they're funny.
Go on.
The liner notes are always funny. The thanks, the credits. There's no wasted space. But the liner notes are definitely an integral part of, especially the Joker's cards. Because I know you guys talked about it a little bit at the beginning of the Jekyll Brothers, but without the information that's in the liner notes, you would have no idea who Jake and Jack were or what's this Dark Carnival business. So without the actual booklet, you lose out on so much of the backstory and of the themes, and in the case of Bizarre and Bizarre, you miss out on a board game, a crossword puzzle.
That's right.
Word games. Yeah. Oh man, so much fun in
I
that.
forgot about all that. Damn.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this until like way later, like several years later, that on Bizarre and Bizarre, if you take off the plastic tray that holds the CD, there's a picture underneath it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a black tray. It's covering up the picture, and they even put a little black circle in the middle of the picture, so you would never know. You lift it up, if the case cracks or whatever, you lift it up to change the case. It's like, holy crap, there's a picture of Big Stank and Little Poot. Hey, look, there's Hack Benjamin.
Perfect. Those 3D glasses didn't work very well.
I have a lazy eye, so 3D glasses never work.
Yeah. I have to look. I have to usually, I wear glasses. I have to put the 3D over the glasses.
Yeah.
But Bizarre. In my memory at least, possibly my 2 favorite ICP albums. But we'll see. We're getting there pretty soon, so we'll see how they hold up.
In my opinion, they hold up really well. For a while, I kind of forgot about those albums. I kind of, was thinking, those ones weren't as good as the rest of them. But as time goes on, you listen to it again after you haven't listened to it in a long time, and you realize, wow, these are really good songs. The production is really good. There's live drums and guitars on a lot of the songs, and there's just a lot that went into them.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I feel like the reason why I like those ones so much was because starting at Malenko, going to Jekyll Brothers, and I still hadn't gone back.
Mm-hmm.
I just kept getting what was new after that. So right after that was Bizarre, and I ended up really like kind of what you're saying, Bill. They're almost my two favorite albums in that they just ended up being so different, and it was refreshing because it was just like how much like crazy can their music get after how angry Jekyll Brothers was. And it like took a complete different turn, and I was like, I really like that.
Yeah, there's a little bit more of a fun, lighter kind of feel to it. It's not weighted down by having to have a theme go through it, and it's just the songs are a little bit more disconnected and fun. And
they make fun of themselves for doing it the whole time. Anyways, I'm spoiling them.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, man.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Bill. I can't wait to get to that stuff because I'm thinking about this time, and it was in my life in this time I was like almost overwhelmed with release after release that I liked, and I was, while you were talking, Jeremy, I was thinking about as the albums came out, they were always replace the previous one. Like I would, whatever the most recent one is would be the one that I would play, and I would occasionally go back and listen to the other ones, but the new one would come out and then that would be my ICP record until the next one came out. But this time, it was like, you don't have to wait a few years for an ICP track or another ICP record. Twisted's coming out. Psychopathic Riders is out. Psychopathics from Outer Space is out. Two Bizarre albums. And this is all within like 18 months or something.
Yeah.
So my CD book now has like multiple pages of ICP and so much stuff to listen to. And so that's why, and it was so I listened, there were so many albums, I listened to it so much. Because I enjoyed all of that different content. Now ICP occupies a huge percentage of the music that I'm listening to just because of the amount that's out.
Yeah.
It was a great time, man.
It was absolutely a great time. Just, and what was really cool about it was the amount of kind of mystery and just kind of unknown aspects about it, because the internet was hardly even a thing. I didn't even have internet on my own until way later. But when I first got into ICP, I didn't know anything about them. I had Amazing Jekyll Brothers, and then it had the little thing in there that showed, the first 4 Joker's cards, and I was like, okay, that's what I need to do. I need to get those albums. And I had ended up getting a copy of Forgotten Freshness 1, just the one disc with no case. And I thought that was kind of jarring. I was like, well, this sounds different. There's no context. I had no idea what these songs were, but I was like, okay, well, this is pretty cool. And then I think the next one I got was Ringmaster. And because whenever I get into a new band, I always try to get their first record as the next album I get. And I couldn't find Kernel of Carnage, so I got Ringmaster, and I was blown away. I was like, wow, this is really cool. And so then I just started picking up the back catalog, and at the same time, I heard about Twisted, so I got Most Tasteless and Freak Show. Bizarre came out. I got those, and then I was able to find the first Psychopathic Riders album. And then next thing you know, Blaze is coming out. It was just overwhelming, but it was really cool. And, I would go to my dad's house because he had internet and, the crappy dial-up. And I would go over there and I would just spend hours just looking on juggalonews.com, Fago Lovers, and just digging through all these old interviews and show reviews and looking at pictures. And just, that was the only way I knew about ICP. And I didn't even know any other Juggalos until, still not even now. But it wasn't until a few years later that I met another Juggalo that we ended up being really good friends and are still really good friends. But he's still the only Juggalo that I really know. So it's a lot easier now with the internet, of course. You could just hop on Google and find out anything. But man, it was really cool back in the day because you had to really search for this stuff if you wanted to get into it. And it was like that with other music too, punk and other types of rap. I mean, if you wanted to get into it, you really had to do some digging.
Yeah, man. We mentioned in another episode, a previous episode, about reading liner notes to try to find new bands.
Yeah.
It was like a tactic that you needed to do to keep up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like I made a connection from ICP to the Suicide Machines because they're mentioned in the liner notes of Amazing Jekyll Brothers. And I had heard of the Suicide Machines because they were on, I think it was Tony Hawk or Grind Session, one of those PlayStation skateboarding games. And so, yeah, between those two connections, I was like, wow, this must be a really cool band. So I got a couple other albums, and hey, they are. What do you know?
Yeah, I remember one of the Suicide Machines albums because I was a big fan of punk. I think the drummer, one of the members of Suicide Machines, was credited as Juggalo Ryan.
Ryan the Juggalo, yep.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, I guess they're cool with ICP. Or either that or it's a huge rib. Like,
well, they used to be on Hollywood Records at the same time that ICP was,
yeah.
and they ended up doing a couple of shows and tours together, and I think that's how that connection came about. Same thing with Humble Gods, who eventually became Cottonmouth Kings.
Amazing.
One
thing I wanted to make sure that we talked to you about and asked you about before we let you go is the mythology and the role of Insane Clown Posse in the Dark Carnival, which we talked about a lot. We've speculated as to the ICP's hierarchy within the Dark Carnival and where they fit in, and whether they're real people who died, or when they're real people, or when they're clowns, or are they the serial killers that they talk about, or are they just telling stories about horrible things that have happened? I wanted to know if you had any thoughts on the mythology of where the clowns fit into the Dark Carnival.
I think it varies song to song. It's very inconsistent that way. But I'm a big fan of the comics, the Pendulum comics, and those being written by Jumpsteady, I take them as canon. So that is ICP canon. Whatever Jumpsteady says is the word. And according to the Pendulum comics, ICP were a rap group and a gang, inner city posse, much like they were in real life. But they couldn't get a break. In some street war, they ended up getting jumped, nearly killed, and the spirits of the Dark Carnival came to them and said, "Hey, you guys, you want to work for us?" And they were like, "Yeah, of course." And so then they just became basically like the heralds of the Dark Carnival, and they would go and basically just pick out evil people that were getting away with stuff. Like I think it's the first issue, there was a mayor that was charged with rape, and his lawyer got him off the hook, and he was totally clean and ready to go and everything. And so the ICP comes and kills the lawyer, and then they summon the Great Malenko, and the Great Malenko shows the police come and are trying to arrest Jay and Shaggy for killing the lawyer, and the Great Malenko comes and shows them their mirrors, their images of themselves, and so then Jay and Shaggy get away, and then they go on a few other adventures and end up going to Wichita, where they get in a fight with some Nazis. Not very relevant there.
Life imitates art.
And so they beat down this gang of Nazis, and of course they get arrested for it. They're sitting in the Wichita jail, and wouldn't you know, the carnival comes to town, and it's just like the beginning of Carnival of Carnage, except for it's in a comic book, and it's so much cooler. And of course Jumpsteady is a better prose writer than Violent J is. But yeah, then the carnival comes, and they basically put the entire city of Wichita on trial, and the people that are innocent and good souls get to go, and the rest are condemned to hell. And so I think that pretty much sums up ICP's role in the Dark Carnival. But song by song, it really varies. Sometimes they are speaking from the Dark Carnival, sometimes they're speaking from themselves, sometimes they're just pulling shit out of their ass. And that's the beauty of it, I guess. I think it was in the Riddlebox sampler, I think, they said something about, well, you take the good with the bad when you take the Riddlebox. And I think that kind of basically sums up their whole career.
Well, the fact that they're inconsistent in their mythology, do you think that undermines the bigger picture of the Dark Carnival, or do you not think it matters overall?
I'm sorry, you're cutting out again.
Oh, sorry. The fact that they can be inconsistent with the story that they're telling, do you think that at times undermines the bigger story that they're telling, or do you not think it matters?
Only if you let it matter. I have a very optimistic point of view for my fandoms, for things that I like. I just take it as it is. I think as artists, they're allowed to make mistakes. They're allowed to take missteps. They're allowed to retcon things that they did before that maybe aren't consistent with what they do now. But I think the really cool thing about ICP is they never apologize for anything, and they never try to downplay their past. They always own up to everything they've always done, even if it sucked. Or they'll even tell you straight up, like, "Oh yeah, well, we did Basement Cuts and it was terrible, but here we're going to release it again because we know everybody wants to hear it. And it pretty much sucks, but we know you're going to buy it, so here you go." And I know you guys had a hard time with a lot of Carnival of Carnage, especially Black in Your Eyes, which is it's a pretty atrocious song. But believe it or not, that song ended up on a compilation that they put out in, I think it was 2011 or whatever, the old shit.
Mm-hmm.
That was a song that they put on there, just very unapologetic, just, hey, here you go. This was something that we did. And they've never once tried to apologize or, say, oh, well, we used to feel that way, but we don't feel that way now. It's just, hey, that's what we did, and we did it, and take it for what it is. And I don't think you get that much honesty from a lot of artists. A lot of times when artists and musicians move in a different direction or start to evolve or they grow up, a lot of times they start to downplay or try to push stuff under the rug or say, oh, yeah, well, I don't really feel that way, or they stop performing songs that they don't really feel anymore. But I mean, shit, ICP did Carnival of Carnage in its entirety for a concert, even though it's, probably their shoddiest work. And I don't think anybody would argue with that, but they did it. And, no apologies. It is what it is. And, if you're a fan, then you just take it for what it is and just enjoy the fact that it's there.
Nice.
In my research, when I was looking up some stuff for this album, I read a Rolling Stone review of Jekyll Brothers, and it's not an interview, but they take quotes from Violent J that they weave into the review. And one of them from Violent J is he says something to the effect of, "We use theatrics in our music to cover up the fact that we suck."
Yeah, if you listen to a lot of interviews from like Great Milenko and Amazing Jekyll Brothers era, every single interview, they just went in with a fuck you. They just said, you know what, this whole thing is bullshit. The industry is bullshit. Your magazine sucks. We're not going to tell you anything that matters. We're just going to bullshit our way through. They were basically doing a Sex Pistols interview every single time.
Yeah, I wish I could remember any of the. I don't know if Bill remembers any, but Jay talks a little bit about that on his audiobook, about how they never really gave any reporter any respect.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. There's some funny shit there.
I think the funniest thing about listening to the Violent J audiobook is like all the times he admits like, oh, we fucked up. We should have done that different. Maybe we'd be way more popular. Like,
yeah.
But he also like in the same breath says, like, fuck it, like we're doing fine. Like, so it's good to know that ICP has that, like, has the awareness of like, we could have maybe done some things differently. We could have maybe been a little bit smarter. We could have been maybe a little bit more diplomatic, but we did what we did, and now we're here. So
yeah. Oh, hey, I mean, they burned every single bridge they came across from 91 all the way up to 99, 2000. But yet they're still here, and they're, doing as well as they ever have.
Hell, we're talking about them right now.
We're talking about them right now. And probably a few people are listening right now.
Yeah.
Probably about 69 people.
There you go. 69,
if I were to
dude.
guess. If I were to guess the number. That's how many people per episode we average.
All right, guys. Last call for questions for Jeremy.
No, man, I just want to say thanks for coming out, man. I had a great time talking to you. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. This was a lot of fun.
This is awesome. If people want to get in touch with you or they want to talk to you, would you like to offer a place where they can do that?
Instagram at Jigglz13, Jigglz13.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, and thanks to all you listeners out there for listening. You know where to find Jeremy. You don't know where to find Ryan and Steve, but that's by design. So you can follow us on social media at Dim Carnival. You can follow me on all social media at Sundown Motel. You can email us, dimcarnival@gmail.com. And we'll go ahead and include your name as we exit here, Jeremy. Until next time, I'm Bill.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Ryan.
And I'm Jeremy.
And we're the Dim Carnival. So watch out.
Whoop whoop.
Most Tasteless 99 or whatever it is, 99. Yeah, I fucking love that album.
Yeah.
I'm super excited to listen to that. There's no fucking way we're doing this in one episode, my man.
Yeah,
I was wondering about that.
We'll figure it out.
I didn't realize you said that until I listened back to the episode and I laughed out loud. Oh, there's no way that's happening. Not a chance.